game thinks I rolled.
What do you mean the game thinks?
Yes, Sarah, Jumanji actually does think. But there's much more to this game than just the fact that it thinks you rolled the dice, Sarah. In fact, the second you even touched that dice, you didn't have a chance. That's right, the game cheated from before you even picked up the dice, all the way to the very last roll of the game. Let's compare Jumanji to a game like Monopoly. What's the first thing you do before you even start the game? Fight over who's gonna be driving the race car, of course. And just like in Monopoly, in Jumanji, each game piece is unique, being a rhino, an elephant, a crocodile, and a monkey. Unlike Monopoly though, the players don't get to choose what piece they play. I mean, look at Alan. Alan never said he wanted to be an elephant, he simply let Sarah roll first. And she never said she wanted to be the rhino. The game just chose for her.
It's gotta be magnetized or something.
The game also chose which corner each player starts in.
It's gotta be microchips or something.
And it's only gonna get worse from here. Unlike traditional games like Monopoly or Sorry, where everyone runs around the same board, in Jumanji, each piece must take its own path to go on their own journey. And not all paths are created equally. That's right, before the game even starts, some players like Sarah are forced to start at a disadvantage. In this case, both girls were at the worst disadvantage.
I don't like the sound of that.
Well, I didn't know, okay? It's just the roll of the dice.
Sarah is the rhino and she has to go 35 spaces in order to win. Now feel free to pause this and count for yourself because I know some of you out there aren't gonna believe me. I don't know why. I feel like I look like a pretty reliable source. Alan is the elephant and he has to go 33 spaces in order to survive. I mean win. Then Judy gets the crocodile and has to roll the most spaces out of everyone, coming in at 36 spaces in order to win. Then Peter the little monkey gets the best odds with only 32 spaces needed in order to win. So Alan and Peter have the best odds. It's just insane. Bruh, I'm gonna be eating hairs all day. There's only like 6 hairs left in the mouse, so we can work with that. And you know that I know that you know that the game handpicks who it lets play the game. All the construction workers were right there and none of them heard the noise. Boom, 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 boom.
What was that?
You heard it too?
When Alan's parents got home, they found an empty house and they found the game left out in the open. Jumanji didn't call them out to play the other 2 pieces, and we know his parents found the game because why else would the game be stuck up in the attic? So clearly the game has a plan for every person. But I'm here to tell you people that the game is rigged and the dice don't land on numbers by chance. That's why when Peter tries to manipulate the dice, the game gets very angry and makes him start over at the very beginning of his journey.
A law of Jumanji hadn't been broken. You will slip back even more than your token.
You tried to cheat?
No, I tried to drop the dice so they land on 12.
Oh, okay, honey. Well, that would be cheating.
Remember, the pieces are stuck to the board and can't be moved by a human. Only the game can move the piece. Well, when he cheated, he said he only needed 12 more spaces to win. But if you look, when we see the board, we can see that he actually needed 13 spaces to win. An impossible number to get only with 2 dice. Something moved the piece back before he even had a chance to roll, so just in case he did successfully get that 12, he still wouldn't have won. But speaking of the dice roll, Alan got locked up in Jumanji and the player had to roll a 5 or an 8, yeah that's 8, in order to get him out of the game.
In the jungle, you must wait till the dice read 5 or 8.
But if the dice wasn't rigged and it was purely based on chance, then they only had a 25% chance to get a 5 or an 8 to actually get them out of the jungle. We know you can't skip a turn because the players already tried that, and the game doesn't let you skip a turn.
It's not my turn.
Whose turn is it?
Sarah Whittle.
There's a lot more to this conspiracy to unpack here, but today's question is this. If no one rolled a 5 or an 8 to get Alan out of the jungle, would the game have been stuck, unable to finish because now it's his turn to roll and he can't roll because he's stuck inside the game? Or would the game simply skip him and go on to the next player? Okay. Now I see why, like, Robin Williams had to have his arms out all the time. Putting your arms through the leaves is, like, empowering. Now, if you think this is going to poke a hole in the conspiracy that the game isn't living and isn't cheating, well, don't worry, there's plenty more information here. In total, Judy had the worst odds. She only got to roll the dice 3 times, while everyone else got to roll the dice 4 times. And she had more spaces than anyone to have to go. But let's look at Peter a little bit closer, shall we? When he cheated, he was turned into a monkey, and we know the game picks who plays what characters, and it even picks where the characters have to go, and possibly even picks what the dice lands on. If Jumanji indeed did pick what number was rolled, this would explain why the game was so upset when he tried to manipulate the roll of the dice, taking away the game's power, thus making the game punish him in the most extreme way possible, and that's by sending him back to the beginning of his journey. But I would argue that the game actually knows Peter way better than we think it does, and the game was actually anticipating him trying to cheat. And in fact, if he didn't cheat, it was going to cheat for him. If we watch when all 4 players get united, we can see that his piece is actually on the wrong spot. Now, the only way for this to happen is if the game moved the piece for him. So the game was trying to make it look like he was cheating right there and then. But since nobody else noticed, it put the game back in a new spot and baited Peter to cheat a little bit to try to get him to try to win the game. That's also why the game chose him to play as the piece of the monkey. We already learned in last week's video that the type of monkey in Jumanji is a new monkey to our world, unlike the other monkeys on our planet. Why? Because if the adventurer doesn't finish the game finishes the adventurer. All the monkeys we see running around are people who played the game in years past that the game has punished by turning into a monkey. Peter would have continued to change until he looked exactly like the monkeys in the kitchen, just like all the players in the past who cheated, only to be enslaved by the game for eternity as a monkey. The final piece to show that the game is cheating is the fact that it controls the dice.
Okay, it's my turn.
Sarah? If you roll a 12, you win.
Now, I'm not just skimming over this with crazy accusations. Watch the dice. Every single time we see them roll the dice in the game, we see the dice only lands on the table. Even when Alan is stuck to the floor, they literally place the board game over his face to make sure the dice still land on the board. Now look at the very end of the game, the last roll of the dice.
Drop it.
And he needed a 3 in order to win the game. For the first time in the history of the game, we see one of the dice rolled off the board. So to maximize his chance of not winning, the one dice the game had control of, the game made it the smallest possible number it could. So if both dice landed on the board like the game wanted it to, it would have rolled snake eyes. That's only 2 and he needed 3. And he would have not reached the end and it would have been his end.
Jumanji.
Okay, let's go back to 1869. There are only 2 people bearing the game, because the other 2 people were probably either killed by the game or turned into monkeys. Or stuck in the game forever because no one rolled a 5 or 8.
May God have mercy on his soul.
Of course, that's just my crazy theory. Let me know what movie you want to talk about next. Subscribe so you don't miss our next adventure. And remember, most importantly of all, Ginger Gillettes, share a smile. They are contagious. Or you will get sucked into YouTube. Oh. Ah. Okay. Okay, we got that out of our system.